If you have a question, you can go ahead and fire it away.
Yeah, sure. I have a question. So it's regarding the mandatory mask wearing, which is in England and Melbourne at the
Hmm.
moment. Well, it actually comes in next week on Wednesday. They're giving us time to go and buy face masks, which I'm not going to do. But I just wanted to ask, do you think it's not only a symbol of submission, but would you say it's also a test for the level of consciousness at the
Absolutely.
moment?
Absolutely. That's what this is. You could call it a shit test, folks. That's all it is. It's saying how much shit are you going to put up with as a whole society, as a culture, as a species. That's all it is. It's all it is, because it's not effective. Look, if I thought there was actually a deadly illness that was airborne in any way, I wouldn't take chances. I talk about how important health is, how important, good nutrition and diet is, and doing juicing and blending of fruits and vegetables. Do you think I want to get sick? You know, this isn't about getting sick. This isn't about helping anybody. This is a PsyOp to destroy human freedom. And secondly, viruses are not what we are being told, and they don't work the way we are working. Okay? And you could say all you want, that it's all the traditional methods of science. The people who are going to take that position are the people who have not actually done the reading and research in the scientific literature. And I'll tell you what they've done. We can do a whole show on it. We could do a series of shows on it. Okay? Here's what you go into the literature and you show them the peer-reviewed studies. I'll bring them all up, folks. I can go over tens of them on the show because there's hundreds of them out. Okay? You go into the literature, you bring up the published paper in whatever journal it happens to be, and they explain, here's what we attempted to do. We took 100 well people and we took 10 sick people, and we made them all sit right next to, touch, contact, sleep in bed with, all different methodologies to attempt to have those sick people infect the healthy people. And they say we did this for, multiple days, could not produce transmission of the alleged contagion, right? So they went more extreme. And they take mucoid material. They allow the sick people to sneeze into trays, to spit into trays, to cough into trays, right? And then they put that tray right in the presence of a well person. And hundreds of people we're talking about at all different stages of the disease. Tens of sick people, hundreds of well people cannot, through mucoid nearness to their mucoid alleged infectious material, transmit the disease. So they go more extreme. They make them, put a bubble around their head, sneeze into it, then put that plastic bubble, like an inverted fishbowl with obviously room to breathe. It's not an enclosed thing. They make them sneeze, blow their snot out all over it, cough all over it, spit on it, spit on the inside, mucoids running all over, dripping down the inside of the inverted fishbowl bubble. Put that over a healthy person's head. Hundreds of them can't produce the infection, and the healthy person can't transmit it. Having them breathe in mucoid material, right? So they go more extreme, right? Having them sit directly in front of a healthy person. They breathe all out in a deep way. Breathe it all out. Their breath as hard as they can breathe out. And the healthy person sits 2 inches from their mouth and goes and sucks it in. Sucks in deep into their lungs and holds it, their expired breath. Can't infect anybody. Hundreds of people they do it to. No transmission, no contagion, no infection. So they say this still isn't extreme enough. We need to go more extreme. We're going to have them collect all their mucoids, all these sick, violently ill people, collect all their mucoids, pull it up into syringes and inject it subcutaneously, inject all the mucoid material under the skin of healthy people. Still can't infect them and make it sick. And we believe in traditional virus transmission of disease and the traditional models of contagion. This is how dumb people are. Because they've never read any of the science. They've never read one page of the hundreds of thousands of pages of this very meticulously researched and experimented new field of virology and immunology. They haven't done 1 second of research. Don't even know that it exists, because the occultists in the mainstream media will never tell you that these fields of science exist. And then the dumb population walks around like they know something. They know exactly a bag of dog shit is what they know. And I'm not going to say it nice to people anymore. They don't know shit. And they think they know when they have an ill-informed opinion and have never read one piece of medical literature or scientific study from any journals or any scientific institutions that have done tons and tons and tons of experimentations to the contrary of the official narrative or model. And then you think you're informed, and you are not informed. So, that's why I get a little bit upset with people who think they know and want to go off on their high moral horse, virtue signaling, when they have exactly zero knowledge and they only have 100% ill-informed, ill-read opinion given to them by known liars. Okay? So, I even lost thread of the question, Kaylee. So, I kind of went off on a tangent there. The original question was, is mandatory mask wearing a test? And the answer is, it's a shit test. Okay? All it's there for is not to try to explain to people that this is going to make you healthier or prevent the so-called spread of this so-called contagion, which is actually a natural exosomal process of the body for toxin removal. That's all what we're calling viral diseases. Most viral diseases are, okay? But all it is a test of compliance and obedience. That's all it is, and it is part of the PsyOp for the occult controllers to gauge how well has our PsyOp disinformation and compliance narrative worked in society. How well is our social engineering, our socially engineered, perceived PsyOp agenda, how good, how well is it working, and how well is it spreading as the real virus amongst the dumb, ill-informed masses of the human population? That's all it's a test for. And let me tell you something, folks. They understand the actual numbers, as do I, as does anyone who is actually paying attention. It is the overwhelmingly vast majority of the human population that is buying it. I would say 95% or greater of the human population buys it lock, stock, and barrel, hook, line, and sinker, in its entirety, with absolute religious fervor. Absolute religious fervor. I would say 5% or less of human beings in the entire world know that something is even amiss or not right, or there is a agenda even afoot in any way. Okay? Most people don't even know that there's an ulterior agenda happening or a psychological operation happening, let alone understand the particulars of it, let alone understand the real science. Okay? So that's what I'm going to start to endeavor in future weeks to go deeper into and explain in more detail. And guess what? You Nazis in YouTube, you Nazis on Facebook, you're not liberals. You're not liberals. You're certainly not classical liberals like as am I. I'm a classical liberal and I'm a classical conservative. I'm not a neoliberal Nazi and communist, nor am I a neoconservative Nazi and communist, because that's all you are. You're a hybrid totalitarian. You're a Nazi in some views and policies, and you're a communist in other views and policies, because you're a totalitarian piece of fucking trash. A totalitarian piece of fucking trash. I'll say it right on the platform that I broadcast on. YouTube, you're a Nazi, communist, totalitarian piece of fucking trash. Go ahead and ban me and show them who you are, bitch. Same thing for Facebook. You'll never stop me from speaking and getting the information out there, because I stand in righteousness and truth. And I will never back down. And that will provide all of the protection I ever require in this three-dimensional domain of space-time. Do your worst. Okay? And I am not afraid. Fear is not just the mind killer, it is the soul killer. And that's where most people are at, and I will never capitulate to fear. It is the force, as I said on show number 1, which shuts consciousness down and prevents it from evolving. No fear. Or if you even have any, move forward with right action in spite of it. And the universe will come to your assistance. Most people do not understand that principle and are not acting in that capacity. And that's why we're losing. Because we don't have that level of courage, even in the truth community. If everyone had my level of courage, and this is not an arrogant or egotistical statement, it is simply a true statement. If everyone had my level of courage, we would already be free. There would be no tyranny. We would be free now. The problem is we have not worked upon ourselves significantly enough to develop that level of required courage. And that's the problem. All right? So I hope that answers Kaylee's great question about masks. Thank you, Kaylee.